Okay, Year 11, this is the paper that I gave you to work on as a practice test. So we are going to go through it now, and here is how I did the answers. Connie's garden is 2x minus 1 meters wide and x plus 1 meters long. The question is the last question. It's asking, find the area of Jan's garden, so it should be Connie's garden, in terms of x. So area, if I have a rectangle, it's with the base times by the height. So the area of C's garden equals 2x minus 1 times x plus 6. And that's going to give me 2x squared plus 12x, 2x times 6, minus x minus 6. And that'll be 2x squared plus 11x minus 6 is the area of Connie's garden. Tim's garden is x plus 2 meters wide and 2x minus 3 meters long. Find an expression for the difference in the areas of Connie and Tim's garden. So Connie is 2x squared plus 11x minus 6. Let's work out what Tim's garden is. Tim's is going to be the base times the height, or the two sides times together, x plus 2 times 2x minus 3, and I get 2x squared minus 3x plus 4x and minus 6. So that gives me 2x squared plus x minus 6. Now, what is the difference between the area of Connie's garden and the area of Tim's garden? Well, difference means subtract. So I've got 2x squared plus 11x minus 6, and I'm going to subtract Tim's garden, which is 2x squared plus x minus 6. Now, the main thing that people forget here is this is like a minus 1. And this negative, I'm minusing everything in Tim's, or the whole area, not just the 2x squared. So that negative needs to go to each term inside the bracket. And so I'll get 2x squared plus 11x minus 6 minus 2x squared minus x, and a negative times a negative is a positive 6 at the end. So now when I simplify, those are going to cancel. 11x minus x is 10x, and minus 6 plus 6 is 0. So the difference between their gardens is between Tim and Connie's garden area. Okay. Egmont's garden has an area of 21 meters squared. They've given the widths, they've even drawn a diagram. If this diagram wasn't here, please, I'd like to see you drawing a diagram. Find the dimensions of Egmont's garden. Now, the word dimensions means what is its length and its width, or its base and its height, or whatever. It's probably length and width for a garden. So, we know what the area is, and in terms of the sides we've been given, the area would be 2x plus 5, so just what we did before, times x plus 3. But this time we know that it equals 21. So now I've got an equation. So I'm going to expand out this. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. 5 times x is plus 5x. And 5 times 3 is plus 15 equals 21. Put everything in there. Now, what do I have? I need to add up all my like terms. So I've got 2x squared plus 6 plus 5 is 11x plus 15. I'm going to get this 21 over and let it equal 0. Why am I doing that? Because I know when I've got two things multiplied together that equal 0, I can solve for x. And I know how to make this into a multiplication sum just by factorizing. But let's just get it in its simplest form first. So 15 to 21 is 6. So there's two ways of factorizing this. The way I've taught you in class is to say my coefficient of x squared times my constant, which gives me 12. What are my factor pairs of 12? They can add or subtract to give me 11. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Those aren't going to cut it. It'll have to be 1 and 12. I want plus 11, so it's going to be plus 12 and minus 1. So I rewrite this as 2x squared minus 1x plus 12x minus 6 equals 0. So I've really just rewritten this equation as that over there. So what I'm going to do is factorize the first half. So what is a common factor here is x, and I'm left with 2x minus 1. And in here, a common factor is 6. So that'll give me 2x minus 1. And now I've got a common bracket that I can factorize out. And I'm left with x plus 6. Now, that is telling me that either 2x minus 1 equals 0 or x plus 6 equals 0. So here 2x would equal 1, and so x would be a half, and here x would be negative 6. Now remember, they're dimensions of a garden. So if I had x a length of negative 6, I would get a negative side length. So I cannot have x as negative 6. Now the question said find the dimensions of Egmont's garden. So x is a half. So my length will equal 2 times a half. I'm just using this over here. Plus 5 equals 2 times a half is 1 plus 5 is 6 meters, and the width would be a half plus 3, which equals 3.5 or 3.5, and it's in meters, so it's 3.5 by 6 meters. Okay, now I'm actually going to quickly just show you a different way of factorizing. So I'm going to show you from, move that over a little bit to give us the same values. I'll do it in blue, give myself a bit of space to do it in, and I'm doing it from this line over here, 2x squared plus 11x minus 6. This is the end of the video. So if you're happy with the way I've factorized there, you might just want to stop now. But if you want to see a different way of factorizing when you've got a coefficient, keep watching. So I know that I've got some factor pairs of 2. So when I have my brackets, I know there's going to be a 2x and an x, because obviously I need to get this 2x, and luckily for me 2 is a prime number. But I've got 1 and 2, and then I've also got all my factors of 6 that multiply together to give me the 6. And I need to find some combination of the 1 and 2, or either this one or that one, that can give me 11. Now if I said 2 times 6, that would give me 12, and 1 times 1 gives me 1, which I can see straight away would give me 12 if that was plus and that was minus. Now obviously if that hadn't worked, I would have maybe seen 2 times the 1 and 1 times the 6 would only have given me 2 and 6. Or I could have seen what would happen if I'd gone 2 times 2 is 4 and 1 times 3 is 3. So that's too small, and 2 times 3 gives me 6, and 1 times 2 gives me 2. So none of those, if I minus them, can add or subtract, or if I times them, sorry, can add or subtract to give me 11. So it's going to have to be that first one that I just happened to choose, which was very handy. So I want to say 1 times 1, so this is going to be a 1, and it's going to be timesing with that 1 over there, and the 2 is timesing with the 6. So if you think about how you multiply out, the 2 will always, these will always multiply, and those will multiply. They'll give me 12x and a 1x, and I want to minus the 1, and I want to plus the 12. And there it is factorized. So it is a different way of doing it. And then, of course, you'd say 2x minus 1 equals 0, or x plus 6 equals 0, and then it would be the same as that down there. So it's just a different way of looking at it. It's a bit more trial and error, playing around with it. It's more earthy, I like to think, kind of going back to basics, but it's up to you, whichever way you choose. Find one way that you will remember and suits you, and go with that. Thanks for listening. See you next time.